Hey y'all, welcome to a new episode of the vlog. Can you guess where this large gaggle of people is headed towards? That's right, it's the PNE. It's been a tradition to come here ever since I was a kid. I don't know if I've ever done it solo before, but it's a new adventure. I'm here right when it opens at 11 a.m. and I plan on staying here till late. In fact, I definitely will because I'm seeing the Beach Boys tonight. The Beach Boys are performing here at the PNE at 8:30. Oh joy! I am pleasantly surprised. The lines actually aren't terrible. Well, that's embarrassing. I was in the wrong line because I already have tickets. I don't know what I'm thinking. At least I bypassed that and now I'm almost in. I'm not gonna lie, I'm even liking the cheesy background music. Or I'm liking it now until it gets really old in about 5 minutes, but gives you a sort of theme park vibe, that's for sure. Sometimes I forget the PNE has a mascot. Most people would be so stoked when they run through the front door to go check out maybe some of the rides at Playland or, I don't know, some of their favorite exhibits or shows. But if you're me, you're interested in some of the many historic buildings that are on property. This one is one of my favorites. It's the PNE Forum, which used to be known as the Vancouver Forum. It opened in the 1930s, and for many decades this was the largest hockey rink by capacity in Vancouver. I love this place. It still hosts concerts sometimes. You can still see the bleachers, the original bleachers are still in here. It's been the marketplace for many years here at the PNE. I saw Paramore perform in here one time. It was an awesome show. They haven't had an actual ice machine here for a long time. Look at that, the broadcast gondola. I've never noticed that in here. So, from I believe the early 40s through to 1968, this building was home to the Vancouver Canucks. Now, not those Vancouver Canucks, I mean the pre-NHL, WHL Vancouver Canucks, but still, this building has a lot of history. Hasn't had a functioning ice maker to make it a hockey rink in a long time, but like I said, they still host concerts, still host awesome events. It's a very cool little building. At this point, it feels like the actual arena building that we're standing in, and the opposite side of the arena, this would just be the lobby area, but it's pretty much one and the same for these expo events, all serving the same purpose. Whoa, I feel like this is new. Look at the Forum lettering on the side. Perhaps that was there when the building was new, but I'm very convinced that they've put that in the last year or two. I don't remember that being there, and it is a really nice touch. Awesome. Awesome, look at these vintage cars, wow. At least that one's for sale. Wonder if they all are. Look at this one's got the boombox set up in the back. Awesome. Or the subwoofer, rather. Look at this. Freaking 10-foot long Oldsmobile. Awesome. Cool. One cool thing about the PNE is they have a different exhibit in the PNE Gardens building every year. This year it's the evolution of video games. Sounds cool. I think I'm gonna check it out. Cool, even more classic cars through here. Sweet! The PNE Gardens also has an interesting and long history as a concert venue. I believe in the mid-60s, the Grateful Dead even recorded a live album here or something. I know there's some live album called the Grateful Dead live at the PNE Gardens, and that would be right here. It's so cool. So I'm gonna be brutally honest with you here. I don't even care that much about the exhibit. What I do care about is this ancient rink. I don't think it ever had a major sports tenant, but like I said, it's been home to many an awesome concert. Like the Forum, the grandstands are still intact, and look at this. Here's the stage. More roped off than it was last year. But up on this stage In May of 1974, this venue played host to a co-headlining tour of Savoy Brown and Manfred Mann's Earth Band, who are probably most known for their version of Blinded by the Light. Interestingly enough, it looks like it's currently set up for concerts. Under this curtain, I can see a lot of audio equipment. That's cool. But opening up for Savoy Brown and Manfred Mann's Earth Band was a brand new band based out of New York City that brought hardcore rock and roll, as well as, even back in those early days, a ton of pyrotechnics and crazy stuff. That opening act was Kiss, and they filled up this arena in May of 1974, just 3 months after the release of their first album. And that's just the beginning of how cool this venue really is. They've even got a few video games you can play. Here's Space Invaders, and here's a game called Computer Space. Wow, this one you can't play, it's behind plexiglass. But it's called Computer Space. Here's a screenshot from the game. 1971. Imagine almost 50 years ago walking into an arcade and saying, "This cool thing." I would have absolutely put my quarter in that. Amazing. Whoa. In-game cinematics on a Laserdisc Sega Astron Belt. How awesome is that? I've always wanted to own a Laserdisc player, but I never knew video game information was stored on it as well. Sweet. And here it is, probably the very first video game system released to hook up to your everyday television. For 1972, it's the Magnavox Odyssey. Now, all you would actually see on the screen are little dots and little things like that. But you could put up these cool overlays over your screen, these plastic overlays, to sort of create the environment of the game. Because all the system really did was put a moving dot on your screen that you could control, but with these overlays and some differently programmed games, you could have a whole wealth of entertainment. 47 years ago. They have a history of the EA Sports NHL series of video games here. Here's an exhibit on motion capture, and here's a motion capture suit from 2010. Cool. Aw, man, how cool is this? A massive Game Boy that you can play Tetris on. That's awesome. Look at that. You can even play Super Mario Bros. Or the 1979 Atari 2600 game Adventure. There's a few little video game stalls where you can play whatever you want. It's pretty cool. Oh, I didn't even notice the enormous NES controller. How could I have missed that? There's a PlayStation 3 game called Flower that you used to be able to play. Apparently not anymore. I wonder why. And of course, what would a video game exhibit be without a Guitar Hero station? Anyway, all in all, it's a pretty cool exhibit. I would recommend it. A couple of years ago, they did a hockey history exhibit, and then last year they did something with animatronic dragons, I remember being in here. That was pretty cool. But I hate to admit this, but it's really the old school arena that I'm here for. It is so cool. Very cool. Instead of a gift shop when you leave this exhibit, you get an arcade. Awesome. Apparently throughout December, this whole park turns into a Christmassy winter festival wonderland? Have not heard of this. Oh, that's because it's new this year. Huh. Here they have Snap Happy, a do-it-yourselfy experience, which, once again, I couldn't be less interested in. But, you guessed it, it's in yet another historic arena. This building is the Rollerland. No grandstands or anything in this place. It's actually kind of hard for me to find any historical information on the Rollerland, other than it opened in 1931 and later was converted into, I'm just gonna assume, a roller rink based on the name, but other than that, I have no clue. Oh, cool, look at this kid. Yes, by the way, I literally waited in line for this venue just to come in and film parts of it. Yay. Well, that's oddly horrifying. So I've been meandering in the direction of the rides, but I keep getting sidetracked by cool stuff that I forgot about, like the farm country, livestock barns. Now, as you can tell by the current condition of these livestock barns, they're some of the oldest buildings on property. I believe they were built in the 20s. But like, every year since I was a kid, they've had these disgusting windows, paint peeling off. I mean, this is a major event. This is the third largest exposition in Canada, maybe the second largest actually. And can we repaint this? Do we have the technology? Because could really use it. It looks like it's gonna fall down. The whole building looks like it's gonna fall down. So I think they could do with refurbishing this. I don't know why, but I do love donkeys. I don't know why, but I immediately giggle every time I see one. Several llamas. Look at this dude. He's huge. Oh my gosh. This baby, if I'm doing my math correctly, is 3 weeks old today. Happy 3 weeks birthday. I wonder if vegetarians will appreciate that this section is called the beef zone. Ah, poor guys. Good news. This guy's name is Crunchy. Seriously though, at least half the windows in this place are smashed. I mean, would it really be that expensive to refurbish the place? I mean, I bet it would be, but I think it's worth it at this point. So cute. Also, everyone's favorite cuddly critter. Bees. I feel like they do pig races here. Can't decide how I feel about that. There are some animal events that take place here that I kind of wish wouldn't. I believe these ducks race or something as well. Which, I don't know, ducks probably don't mind. I know pigs don't have sweat glands. I don't know, and I don't know if they love being, you know, in a pile in that room, although they seem to have made the pile by themselves. But still, I don't know. I don't know how to feel about it. I usually just don't watch it. But don't worry, y'all. There's still 2 more historic arenas to check out. Yay! I just love the cool domed design of this place. The PNE Agrodome, which opened in 1963. And when it was opened, it surpassed the PNE Forum just down the way here as the largest hockey rink in Vancouver. This place is hosting horse races and such, maybe even some jousting, which is what they've always hosted here at the PNE and the Agrodome over the last several years, but yet another beautiful heritage arena here in Vancouver. And now this one, I do believe, has an ice machine, and they still use it for hockey all the time. This place is also one of the most important concert venues historically in Vancouver. I don't think they've hosted concerts here for many years, but back in the 60s, man, they had everyone. In 1965, on their first ever North American tour, the Rolling Stones performed right here in this building. Then in 1966, Bob Dylan showed up here on one of his American tours for, I believe, his Blonde on Blonde album. In 1967, the Who brought their first US tour here. And then in late 1969, probably the coolest concert ever happened here. It was the Vanilla Fudge, but what was really cool, I mean, Vanilla Fudge are an awesome classic heavy metal / psychedelic rock band, but opening up for them that night was a band called the New Yardbirds, aka Led Zeppelin. Led Zeppelin returned here to do a headlining show later in 1970 and blew the place apart, presumably That would have been an amazing show. Also in 1970, Pink Floyd came here, as well as the Ike and Tina Turner Revue. Just everyone's been through here. Also, if you feel like you recognize this place, it's because you probably do. This is the site of the big climactic fight at the end of Rocky IV that was filmed here, as well as the movie Miracle on Ice used the Agra Dome as its hockey rink. And then more recently, the first new Deadpool movie filmed a scene here where Deadpool is avoiding, or attempting poorly to avoid, getting run over by a Zamboni. That was filmed right here at the PNE Agrodome. And now, by far the largest arena on PNE grounds, the Pacific Coliseum. Ooh. Wow, surreal to feel like I have this whole venue to myself. It is currently all set up for the Superdog show, but I have no interest in watching that. And this arena opened in January of 1968 and became the host arena for the Vancouver Canucks WHL team. But also some pretty awesome concerts happened here in the end of the 60s. Jimi Hendrix came here, as did the Doors. I believe the Doors set can be found on YouTube from the Pacific Coliseum here. And then, as a result of this arena being completed, in 1970, 3 years after the NHL's expansion, they decided to expand again and add a new 2 teams. And this time they included Vancouver as a host city. And so Vancouver put forth the Vancouver Canucks hockey team, which began playing in this very arena in the 1970-71 season. The Vancouver Canucks wound up playing here for a quarter of a century, between 70 and 95. In that time, they made the Cup Finals twice, in 1982 and 1994. And the 1982 Cup Final, by the way, is the only time the Stanley Cup was paraded around this building. Of course, it was by the New York Islanders, because the Vancouver Canucks are so sad that we've never won a Stanley Cup. Also this building was famously home to Game 4 of the 1972 Summit Series between Team Canada and the Soviet Union. And Team Canada lost quite horribly in that game, and that was the famous game where right rink side Phil Esposito was being interviewed for CBC, and the fans here in Vancouver were booing him. And that became kind of a famous moment. Of course, Team Canada would go on to win that series. This arena was also home to one of the NHL All-Star games in roughly 1975. And after hosting 3 games of the 1994 Stanley Cup Final, in 1995, the Vancouver Canucks moved out of this old barn and into their brand new General Motors Place, which is now known as Rogers Arena, which is located downtown. For 6 years after that, this arena never had any major tenants until the Vancouver Giants Western Hockey League team began playing here in 2001. It was during their tenure here that I got to see with my dad the gold medal game of the 2007 Memorial Cup Championship right here. I remember being all the way back at the very top of the seats here. I remember having a ticket to sit right about here, but I figured there was so much free space up by the back that we just sat as high up as we could, just for fun. The Vancouver Giants moved out a couple of years back, and as of right now, no major sports tenant place here. But there's still the occasional concert, and of course it is most used during this PNE festivities. So I actually got the chance to see Pentatonics here a couple of years back. That was really cool. But I just love coming in and sitting in this building and reminiscing about all the history that happened here. Also, these box seats are not original to this building, having been put in 1987. And this score clock that hangs from the center truss was built in 2007. I remember the old scoreboard that was there before from back in the Canucks days. It was pretty cool. For whatever reason, I've decided to journey all the way as far back as you can go in this old building, which is row 26 of the upper bowl, and I truly am way up here in the rafters right now. This would have been about my vantage point for that Memorial Cup gold medal game, which the Giants won, by the way. And up there in the distance is the broadcast gondola where Foster Hewitt sat and announced Game 4 of the Summit Series. It's time to follow this massive horde of people to the snack zone.